All right, folks in cyberspace, at this time, we want to welcome you to our program. Again, folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia, and we want to dearly welcome you to our program. In today's program, we have a special guest that is Deputy Presidential Press Secretary, Mr. Smith Toby. He is our guest, and in this edition that I think is a special edition, Mr. Toby will be giving us briefing on 5 major issues. And after his briefing, we will do Q&A on those issues that he will brief us on. And for today's briefing, we will talk about the RIA road project, asset recovery, the EPS brutality as well alleged by now deceased General Zeno Miller and other allegations against the security apparatus. He will also brief us on the president nationwide tour that is upcoming. And he will also touch on the coronavirus that is a threat to Liberia as well. And then we will talk about the retreat a little bit if we have some time. So these are the issues that we have lined up for Mr. Smith Toby. Again, he is the Deputy Presidential Press Secretary of the Republic of Liberia. He will brief us on these issues and we will ask him a question. And so folks in cyberspace, we want to say thank you for joining us. As you have joined us, we want you to share the show. At this time, we want to welcome our guest. Mr. Toby, welcome to Focus on Liberia, sir.
Well, let me say thanks to the team for the invite. And it is always a great pleasure for us to make news of all the medium available to us. It is a good time. This is my maiden edition on your show. Let me equally admit that I follow your show religiously for some time now. I'm also impressed with your presentation. And we are hoping that as we come to, again, brief the people of Liberia and others who follow your show, we will do justice to the conversation. We are very happy that you're giving us your space to talk Liberia, the country that is picking up the pieces and moving towards development under the stewardship of His Excellency Dr. George Mananwia. So I'm happy to be on your platform, and I hope our time together will be rewarding and will be informative and educating.
Thank you, Mr. Smith Toby, right there. And so folks in cyberspace today co-hosting, that's me, your man, Anthony CA, with the veteran Dennis Jad. Mr. Jad, our guest is here and it's time for business. What do you have to say for now?
We want to welcome all our viewers across the globe. Mr. Toby, for the first time on Focus on Liberia, we want to say welcome so much and thank you for accepting the invitation.
Well, like I said, again, thanks for affording us the time. We are happy to be on Focus on Liberia. I'm impressed with the name as well, Focus on Liberia. So we talk Liberia here because Liberia is our common denominator. So whatever we do, wherever we go, how we discuss our country, we got one country. So every time we discuss Liberia, we are happy to be a part of the discussion. So again, thanks for the invite, and I know your team, you've been set and ready for this for some time now. And let's make a show.
Thank you. And we want to welcome all our viewers. After the press briefing by Mr. Toby, you're going to be allowed time to ask your questions, make your comment, ask your question, be very succinct. And I think we're going to have a show tonight. Let me send it back to my man, Asuni.
Mr. Jad, thank you. Like Mr. Jad said, please let us be very respectful. The name of this network is Focus on Liberia, and we are only here to focus on Liberia, which also means we are here to focus on the issue. Not only the personality is something that we do here. So if you have your question, write your question, we'll pick your question, and we will pose that question to Mr. Toby so he can answer your question. Later on, we will open the phone lines. So folks, let's get started. Mr. Toby, we have series of issue lineup for you to brief us on. The floor is yours to start with the RIA road project, and you can go down the list, assets recovery, the EPS, the nationwide tour, coronavirus, and then we can end up with the retreat, who seems to be a little juicy there. So the floor is yours, Mr. Toby.
Well, again, let me say thanks to you all for affording us the time to talk to your viewers in Liberia and those of folks watching us out of Liberia. As we always want to do, we want to bring you greetings from His Excellency Dr. George Manuel Weah, the President of the Republic of Liberia. He's doing very well. The President is up as usual. It is always a good thing to see the President moving about and keeping his focus very high on the development of Liberia. This one president who vision for the country that he's providing leadership for is about developing the country, keeping the country, struggling to keep the country on par, and looking forward to make Liberia on his administration as one of the countries in the world that people talked about in many different ways, positively, even though there are issues, there are challenges, but the president is very upbeat. And like you rightly said, our discussion tonight will look at key major issues, especially for our friends in the diaspora who's been concerned about the RIA rule, the Roberts International Airport rule. It's been here for years now. I'm sure since the establishment of that Roberts International Airport, it's been a rule that some consider to be death-trapped, a very narrow road connecting our country capital with visitors and travelers making their way to Liberia. Presidents before President George Manuel Weah made some effort. There's been this establishment there for many years, but the issue of the road has been a very serious concern to not just His Excellency Dr. Weah, but Liberians who lost their relatives, their friends along that road. And of course, the challenges that Liberians encounter. For some of you who fly into Liberia, you see driving from the airport has always been a talk of the town. People still don't believe a country that is over 100 plus years old is having an airport connecting a city, very narrow road, very challenging to drive at night. And a lot of it has happened. So we know that previous administration, most recent, the administration of Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf started some very good discussion on the road. That's the continuity of government. No disrespect to the past administration. They've started some discussion around giving that airport a facelift. That is why now we got a new terminal, even though it got completed under the administration of Dr. Weah. But then the issue of the road connecting the airport has been something that's been on the lip of many Liberians. In the draft of the president, he's been thinking about this, and through his office, with other partners, and the sector ministry, the Ministry of Public Works, they've decided to again pay some attention to the Roberts International Airport Road and make it a priority road, like they are doing with some of the feeder roads in communities, in some of the counties. But the Roberts International Airport Road is being given a very serious concern. And so the president recently broke ground for the expansion of the road, the Roberts International Airport Road. What is going to happen, and I would like to tell you about, is that the project itself is titled Upgrading to Dual Carriageway. So that means they're going to upgrade the road to a 4-lane. So it's going to be a dual carriageway. So the title of the Roberts International Airport Road is Upgrading to Dual Carriageway. And it's going to connect the Rabas International Airport Highway. And if you are very awkward with the road, that highway cuts across Painesville City. Painesville is in the suburb of the capital, and it passes through Unification Town, somewhere on the Robertson Highway called Smear Notice, for those of you who know the direction of the road, and is leading into the Mount Gibby Belt. So the road is going to cut through the Painesville side of Moserado County onto Unification Town, and then that is part of Mount Gibby County. The president thinks that connecting that road is going to be of more benefit to the country and its people, because the road itself from the airport introduces you to the country, the capital, and its people. The construction of the highway will be done over a 36 months period. There are just things I want you to capture while you ask your question later on. The construction of the road is going to take 36 months. That is 3 years. So in 3 years, we expect to see the brand new 4-lane road connecting Painesville through Unification Town to the Roberts International Airport. And the project, because it is scheduled in 3 years, is being placed into stages. The Ministry of Public Works, the consortium that will do the work, they've sat, they discuss, and they assured the government that they would do the project in 3 years. So it's a 3-year project, or better still, a 36-month project that is going to happen in stages. So they divided it into 3 lots. They got lots 1, lot 2, and lot 3. So for lot 1, which of course is the kickoff of the project, is going to commence from the Roberts International Airport, taking you through what is known as the Jock River Bridge. There's a major bridge somewhere on the Roberts International Airport that connects the airport, Roberts Field Road, to the international airport side. That bridge is called the Jock Bridge. So that's the first lot of the road. It's going to start with the road coming from the airport, coming towards that bridge. That is lot 1. Lot 2, the second phase, you may call it, is going to commence from that bridge called the Jock Bridge to ELWA Junction. That is going to be the second phase of the road. Remember, the road is going to take 3 years to get done, and they're doing it into 3 lots. So lot 1 from the airport to the bridge, and from the bridge to ELWA Junction. Lot 3 is going to come with the construction of another bridge over the river that is connecting Moserado to Mount Gibby. So because the road is going to be a 4-lane road, the current bridge that is there is only the 2-lane bridge. So they'll have to connect another bridge. So that would be the 3rd phase of the construction of the road. The president feels very encouraged about this. He's very happy that he can see this happen on his administration. And the cost of the project, is somewhere around $94.5 million, United States dollars. And that is allotted into 3 different segments. So the $94.5 million is allotted into 3 segments. There's the way the engineers have planned the work. They've said the work got what they call the civil work. And that civil work is going to cost around $80 million. The design and supervision of the project is going to cost $7 million. The management and resettlement action plan, because there are people who have built along the road, they will have to get resettled. And the management and resettlement of individuals who build the structures along the road that will get affected, the cost for that portion of it is $7.5 million. The way the road is being designed and structured is going to come with the length of a 45 kilometer, or better say 27.8 meter. The design of this road that we are talking about, according to what we are informed by the engineer, will characterize many factors. And the factors are not limited to the design of the road, the population density, that is very important, the social activities of the road, which is very important, and the topographic of the road. They've taken all of it into consideration to make the road a vibrant news for the Liberian people. There are other portions of the work that will come along of the road. The road will be constructed according to international standard, and best practices will be followed on the construction of the road. There will be 2 layers of asphalt placed on a firmly prepared road foundation. The road layers and thickness, I'm told, will be done in the following category. There will be a wearing course, which I'm told is somewhere around 50 millimeters. The banding course of the road, once it's been done, is going to be around 30 millimeters. The base course of that road will be around 150 millimeters. The sub base of the entire road will be 250 millimeters. As we speak to you, there will be toll bridge. Sorry for that. There will be toll booths that will be constructed or erected in a location where the bridge will be placed. And there will be 6 major intersections. The total estimated traffic, like the road as it has been designed, is somewhere around 12,421 in terms of vehicle movement and along the road per day. So that road seems to be a very basic road once it is completed. The facility of the road will be in different form. There will be the road station at Marshall Junction. That road station will include the following facilities. There will be a parking lot. There will be a green area. They will have restroom at the road station. For some of you who's been traveling around the world, you know what a road station is. And there will be vehicle service station, gas stations, food court, and other convenience stores. All of it will accommodate the Roberts International Airport route. So the president and his government wants to see this happen. They've held series of meetings in this direction, and it's been going very well. The Ministry of Public Works is about completing the discussion around people who's been squatting along the road and those structures that will be affected. The demolition is expected to commence sometime very soon, and we will see the commencement work of the Roberts International Airport road. The president is hoping, as the schedule is being presented to him, that his administration will see this work completed in the next 3 years, and there will be the brand new Roberts International Airport road with a toll, booths along the road with intersections and other facilities to accommodate the road. It's going to give the country a very good introduction. For some of you who fly into other international airports and driving into the capital, you know what exactly it entails for people to drive from the airport on a very good road with lights, and, with facility giving you comfort to make your way home. It is not ruling out accident along the road, but I'm sure with beautiful roads, 4-link superhighway is going to help us attract more people come to our country, because people have complained a lot of the current standard of our international airport rule, and this administration of President Weah wants to see that change in 3 years. I'll take your question on this when we open the lines. That is for the road.
Mr. Toby, if you can touch on where the money will come from, and then we can briefly move to the next topic for like 2 minutes each.
Well, I think for sure that this funding is coming from both the government of Liberia and, of course, and other partners. You know, the government is not operating in isolation. The government is going out there and looking for funding to do projects and to do not just roads but infrastructure as well. So it is going to come. The government is going to do some allocation. I'm sure it's going to come through our national budget, and I know the president is looking out and for other partners that will come in to join the project. There's been some funding for road coming from other friendly countries. Specifically, you know, the Japanese are doing the Somalia Drive Road. They are providing the fund. The government is providing some other means of having it done. So it's a discussion. The Ministry of Public Works can details the total funding breakdown for this, but the total cost of the project is now known, and the government is going to negotiate getting funding and allocating those fundings to the sole purpose of doing that Roberts International Airfield Road. I know that past administration took credits, took loans. There was sponsorship for roads projects that comes through the Ministry of Public Works. This government is looking in all of the direction. I know that they've held series of discussions with other partners to the government. They're making sure that the Roberts International Airport Road gets off the ground. So for the issue of where the funding will come from, this is the government. The government is in talks. They are partners to this government, and they've made some commitment. I may not give you the total breakdown on the financial portion as to of it, but we know that there's a cost attached to the road. They are funding. The government of Liberia is now mobilizing the resources to start paying people who's been squatting along the road. The last time I listened to a conversation, which was very key, was the Minister of Public Works in talk with the Minister of Finance, mobilizing the resources to begin the payment of those who will be affected along the road. So the government is taking this very serious. They will mobilize the resources, they will mobilize the funding, because this road is a priority road for the president, and he wants to see this happy on his administration.
All right. Just for the sake, because the questions are going to be minutes, so we don't want to lose track. So for the sake of time, if you would take the next 10 minutes to just run through the rest of the issues, then we can just have our questions at once. So let's go.
Moving on to your next point that had to do with assets recovery. You are aware that this administration has been very key in making sure that our resources stolen from our country by different means can get traced and returned to the country. I know the reason why you place this on your menu today is because of the recent resignation. Those are technical issues. Those are issues that would not derail the government fight against corruption. Some of the issues that people put ahead of their resignation are in different form. The government remain very, very engaged. The government takes the issue of asset declaration very important. The president has been talking about this, and he thinks that people have, if not wrongly, but knowingly, robbed this country of its resources. They've taken it places. The majority of the people of the country are still living in abject poverty, and the president and his administration thinks that they can go beyond this stage of the administration and put in place a mechanism to start looking out there. And it is the president's way of continuing his commitment for good governance. So we know that things sometimes start on a very difficult note. Some of these functions are strange to the Liberian people. Some take it for granted, but the president is not holding back on his fight, and he's moving in a very high discussion in making sure that those assets that will be identified by the team of investigators will be followed to the letter, and those who will be held culpable or found who have took this country of its hard-earned resources and they've enriched themselves, those assets will be returned to the Liberian people. It is not coming to individual Liberians, it's coming back to the country, and the government is steadfast with that. The Minister of State, the Office of the President, the Minister of Justice, they are all working on it. It's a technical and very engaging part of the government decision, and the government is not holding back a fight to retrieve Liberian assets or Liberian assets from wherever it is. And you know, such a fight is not an easy fight. There will be temptation along the way. There will be trials. There will be rejection. There will be politics into it. But the government is going to remain steadfast. Is going to stay focused as a way of engaging and making Liberians to understand that there is a need now to go after our stolen wealth. And to do that is to have the assets recovery team worried about and do the piece of job that is going to benefit the Liberian people.
So before we move on to the next topic, how much have been recovered so far, or what is the update on that?
Well, I'm aware that it's been a very huge process. There's been figures playing in and out, and I know that they got their own way of putting out their information to the public. The last time I checked with Mr. Serena Cephas, who is the head of the team, now you are aware that one of his team members have resigned his post, which is something the government also accept. And of course, will not get deterred by resignation, but we will remain focused. We may not have those figures ready in terms of the sin, the nickel, the dime that they've identified. We know that there are millions out there that they are going after, and they've showed the people of Liberia that they are ready to go after those millions. So as to how much they've identified, how much they have retrieved so far, and I'm hoping that as our engagement continues, we'll also help you with some of the figures the next time we have an engagement with you. But we know that they've identified a lot, and they are going after those things. It's been challenging, but they are not deterred. There has been obstacles that they are trying to take off their way, and they've assured not just the president, but they have showed the Liberian people that they are going after those stolen wealth.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are having a press briefing, the FOL style, on Focus on Liberia. Our guest is the Presidential Deputy Press Secretary, Mr. Smith Toby, and we are going through a list of issues. So let's move on to the EPS's alleged brutality, talking about the late Zeno Miller, and now we heard of Emmanuel Savage and so on and so forth. So let's take like 2 minutes to talk about that.
Well, like you read this, there has been claim and counterclaim. You know, for me, it still hurts my heart. Every time we talk about security and journalists, altercation, you know, before I even came to this seat, I was also a very active media man, and we also frowned on some of the situation around security and the media people. There's been an age-old situation that happened administration after the administration. This administration of President Weah is not celebrating security and media altercation. We heard about the situation with the late Zeno Miller. Of course, like he wrote several times on his social media page of pain and what have you, was something that Liberians talked about. But again, the EPS have always said their position has been very clear on the issue. If there was a skirmish or an altercation between the late Zeno and the EPS, that did not warrant his death. I worked close with the late Zeno Miller for many years. For some of you who follow our work together know from where I speak. And from where I sit, you know, the position that I will also take on this issue has been very clear. Zeno has some very health complication. The family understands what happened. The public had their own narrative of what happened to the late Zeno Miller. And that is why the government took seize of the situation, and they offered the family to do an autopsy to also clear the name of the government, because it was being alleged that he died from the situation allegedly carried out by the EPS officer. The family did not see that fit. The family, knowing that the deceased had some health complication, and they decided to go by what the medical report put forth. Even though it's a country that is starting, and every little thing in our country is being politicized, and it was being attributed. But again, when the government decided to clear her name, and then the family said they could not go through all of it, the government made an offer that since there's an allegation, claims and counterclaim, we should run an autopsy on the body to vindicate or to put a blame on where it should be. The family rejected that, and they settled down to what the medical report of the deceased said. Something that we all regret, that he died according to the medical report. So the medical report speaks to everything, and that medical report also vindicate the allegation that he was beaten mercilessly, or he was ill-treated by the EPS as alleged and as was being politicized. May his soul rest in peace. And the situation the EPS has taken into serious consideration, and they are not running after people, they are not beating people, and the EPS is not shooting at people, they are not killing people here as being alleged and sometimes being politicized. Mm-hmm. On your second issue with Mr. Emmanuel Savage, in every state, in every country, there is a laid down rule governing security, especially around the presidency. And under our constitution, or the organic law of our country, citizens can assemble in the peaceful manner and speak to the government, speak to the president, and put forth petitions, something that the president have never rejected, he's never denied, he's never pushed away Liberian. There's been people from different civil society organizations who come at the Foreign Affairs Office of the president and read out the petition statement and present it to the president without altercation. So the issue that happened sometime was last week or a few days back was just another issue in our mind that some Liberians somewhere have again attempted to provoke state security. The group of Liberians headed by Mr. Savage, they've given their own account of what happened. They went to the Capitol building where the National Legislature sit. They've presented the petition. They made some demands. They wanted to see the speaker Speaker could not make himself available. The Deputy Speaker came and received the petition. And then they decided to come to where the president sat, which of course was also their right to come to petition or present a statement to the president. But there is always a laid down procedure. And no one comes to see the president and come with group and then come to the entrance. Besides the president being in office, there are movement, there are in and out vehicles, there were engagement, there were conversation here with Mr. Service and his team. They were being positioned, they were being asked to form a team of 3 to make some negotiation for them to present the statement. The president's office received a word that there was some Liberians out who wanted to present a statement. The president designated one of his advisors, Mr. Ajibra Bernard, his legal advisor, to make his way from the 6th floor to the basement to go and receive the statement. Whatever happened between the EPS and Mr. Service and his team, well, because they were breaching the security. The security decided to disperse them. It turned out to be another provocation, another altercation. There was different side of the story. The EPS is responsible for the president's security. They intervened. They pick up Mr. Service. They turn Mr. Service over to the Liberia National Police. He was being processed, and those are procedures issues. Okay. And there's been different side of the stories with Mr. Service, even to the point again that another journalist and some journalists were being apprehended in the situation. They've written a formal complaint against the EPS. That complaint is being addressed as we speak. The EPS has been communicated to as to the situation with Mr. Service that led to some journalists complain of being ill-treated. They've done a formal complaint. The EPS boss have decided to respond to that communication. So there's been different kind of a situation that have happened. Yeah. But the picture in which people have termed it, that the EPS is becoming brutal, they are beating people, they are killing people, those are not the sort of picture that seem to be the right picture. There's been situation that the EPS has intervened, they have accepted, they have intervened, they have brought civility around the office of the president, and that's their duty. But to the point that I heard one Liberian saying that they beat people in the chest, they kill people, and what about hurting people? Those are not the true picture of the president or the state security that also provide protection for the office of the president. So on those 2 issues, there's a current investigation ongoing with what happened on the day that Mr. Service was arrested and turned over to the Liberia National Police. That is an ongoing investigation. We may not detail you into it, but we can also speak that if anyone is caught in a situation that will breach the president's security, those who are responsible are the president, the State Executive Protection Service, the EPS. And their point is to arrest and turn people over to the Liberia National Police. And I'm sure they did that with Mr. Service and others who were caught doing that standoff. And there's an ongoing investigation. We hope that we can give you details of that investigation as the investigation proceeds.
Sure. Let's just use 2 minutes each now so that we can complete this thing. The president's countrywide tour, the coronavirus, and the retreat. 2 minutes each. Our guests, our viewers are very anxious.
I know they will be anxious because so many questions they will be asking. I hope we can do it with ease. Okay, like you rightly said, the issue of the coronavirus is very serious. We as a country, we've come through a very difficult time with our fight against Ebola. So we are not bragging about our country's experience, but Liberians are resilient people. We are very good at taking preventive measure. Now that the president will again on tomorrow hold an emergency cabinet meeting. I'm disclosing this to you because we are talking. There's an emergency cabinet meeting on tomorrow, specifically to look at the country approach and preventive procedure as we watch the world and other countries around us report cases of coronavirus. The president is key. He's calling his health team tomorrow. He's calling the country health team and all players around his cabinet to brainstorm on the working section tomorrow as to the country's preparedness to combat or to fight the coronavirus. So it is a very big concern for the government. We know that the National Public Health Institute has been passing on instructions to Liberians, the do's and don'ts on preventing the coronavirus. Those measures have been clearly taken by Liberians. And for us to succeed, it's not for the government to go about enforcing or beating Liberians to enforce what is a public health measure. Liberians are very proactive. We've already started acting in that direction. There's no more handshake for now. People are being restrained to greetings in another way, and it's going well. And the government is looking in that direction, and they are paying keen attention to the fight, of the coronavirus. So it is not a lip service. All health institutions, all public buildings are doing what they call the hand wash method. People that are doing the normal sanitation in making sure that we can step on our gains. And at the various port of entry, people that are doing check. There's these thermometers once again be reintroduced, checking people temperature. So we've put in place, but to re-energize and reinforce that, the president is having an emergency cabinet meeting on tomorrow. Key at that cabinet meeting will be how prepared are we. We're going to get further briefing from the health people as to our preparedness as a country to combat, just in case there's a case here in Liberia on coronavirus. On the counter tour, the situation of the petroleum shortage in the country had to do some adjustment in the president counter tour. It was being readjusted. Again, the president is set to go to the counties. The last time we checked the information from the office of the president and the Minister of Internal Affairs, tentatively it is set for the 21st of March. The president should be going to the counties. He's not going to all of the counties at once. It's going to be done in phases. So we know that there's a tour for Mangidi, there's a county tour for Bon, there's a county tour for Nima, there's one set for Grand Bassa, another one for Cape Mount, and Bombing, and then there will be a second phase. So there are dates assigned to the movement of the president into the counties, but tentatively, again, it's been rescheduled for the 21st of March, and as soon as it is confirmed, maybe between now and Tuesday, during our regular briefing, we'll finally confirm the movement of the president on the county tour, but it's been readjusted and is going to kick off tentatively the schedule for the 21st of March.
Now the retreat, our last topic.
Well, the retreat for me, I'm not the official spokesman for the party. The party has its own structure in terms of their information. There's a whole communication arm of the party. I work directly in the office of the president, and those political attachment. When the president goes out at a political rally, I love to leave those portions of the party to speak about it. But since I'm here and you asked me on the retreat, I think it went very well as planned. It was colorful. The president attended the retreat as the head of the political party. The vice president and other players of the collaborating parties attended the retreat. The purpose of the retreat, those who planned it could say it was met. But I think the president feel very, very good that his party was able to organize a retreat and they've managed to look into their party. There's been series of discussion as to strengthening the party and keeping the party focused. So it was a blue day yesterday. The president participated, the vice president, the speaker, Honorable Alex Starter, and those collaborating political parties all showed up, and they are trying to keep that strength of the retreat moving into the 2020 senatorial elections to come, and hold on together and move into the 2023. So it's a big political party. It was a big gathering on yesterday. But because I'm not the official spokesman for the party, I can just speak on the surface because I also attended, and you've asked me because the president also attended the retreat on this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Toby. That was a rundown of the issues that we have shortlisted, and I want to thank you for that briefing. God's willing, we want to do this periodically, every other week if possible, so that our people get to know exactly what's happening in our country. So that was our short answer to the question, what news, Mr. Toby? Now I go back to my co-host, Mr. Asuni Sia. He's all pumped up and ready to go. Mr. Sia.
Indeed, I'm pumped up, and I was almost running out of patience, but Mr. Toby had to do what we called him here for. And Mr. Toby, we first of all want to say thank you for giving a rundown on the issues. I think that was a very unique explanation of the issues. So we are now into our questioning period. And so folks in cyberspace, stay tight as we begin to play hardball with the Deputy Presidential Press Secretary, Mr. Smith Toby. And please get your questions rolling. Very shortly, we'll be opening our phone line so you can place your calls as well and ask Mr. Toby your questions. And he's here to answer the question. He agreed to do so, and he will do. All right, first question, starting with the RIA project. And I know Dene asked you earlier, how you guys gonna fund it? And your answer was that, or the government was talking to partner, the government says going to raise money. So that means that you don't have the money for the project and you broke ground. Is that what I'm hearing?
So no, that is not what you are hearing.
Okay.
So the for example, the consortium that has been hired to do the road has also been doing some road work. In the past administration, there was some money allotted to that consortium company to do the road connecting Bombing County, the main road from Bombing to the farm of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Jilijua. That money was being allotted to the consortium for the construction of the road. So what the government did was that what good with putting the road into Bombing to connect the home of the former president do what economic benefit would that road bring to the Liberian people? To take a road just from one junction to the farm of the former president. So the government had a conversation and of course went to the document. They rectified. They did a relook of the document, and of course the money allotted was being told by the construction company that they had to use that money to kickstart the Roberts International Airport. So the fund that the consortium or the construction company received will also be used to do the Roberts International Airport road. So the government have already secured some funding. Like I said, I may not give you as to the detail, but the government is currently awaiting the total listing from the Ministry of Public Works, because first thing before you do the road, you need to pay off people who are occupying along the road. They've identified those structures, they've marked them, so they are ready to demolish them. But that will only be done when the government begin the payment process. So the Ministry of Finance, which is the government arm for disbursement, is to secure that money. find the beneficiaries of the money and start to make the necessary disbursement so that the construction team of the road can start the work. So the government will not break ground if they haven't identified the source of funding for the road. So this is something that, like we say, is a 3-year project. So they're going to do it in stages. So like they will do, the government is going to do it. The president wants to see this happen, and as commander-in-chief and head of the country,
Okay.
he thinks that this can be achieved under his administration, and he's gone ahead. He's broken ground for it. It means that the government is ready to start the project.
Thank you. So you are saying that the sources of funding for this 3 years project have been identified, and the government is confident that they're going to get the money to fund this project in a 3 years period, and Liberians will not have to be wondering after 3 years that the road is not ready.
One thing I can show you and your audience or the viewers out there is that this president will not break ground for any project that he's not sure he's ready to do. Everywhere the president turned that he's broken ground, if you check the history of those projects or those places he's broken ground for, you see the level of improvement done with those projects. What some people said and were doubting that the president's ability to build a military hospital was never going to come to pass, program for that project, today there is one. So he's been engaged into many different projects, infrastructure for market people, for roads in neighborhoods, and gradually you see the transformation on our roads in our communities where the president wants to see roads connect. So the president would not take pleasure in breaking ground on any road that he's not having the capacity to complete.
Thank you.
Very strong. He's very strong about it. And again, people may choose to doubt it, but it is a 3-year project. And as soon as the project starts, you'll get to know, because it's not a secret thing that will be happening. People will drive in, people will see the level of work.
Exactly.
And the president is very sure that in 3 years, there will be a brand new 4-lane road with a toll bridge, or toll booth, we may call it, and lights along the Roberts International Airport road, a standard road that will connect the airport to Moserado County.
Mr. Toby, you put the estimate cost at 94.5 million for a road connecting RIA with ERWA Junction. We have spoken with some. Is the feasibility study that where people came up with this amount, is that available? Is it published? Because we've spoken with some engineers who tell us that that is not even enough for a 10-mile road. One of those Liberian engineer in the States is Mr. Samson Toby, who has his program conversation with Samson Toby, and he lay out, say, based on the schematics that he saw, there is just no way that this amount can complete that road. So do we have any record, anything published anywhere that engineers or that we can check to make sure that indeed the cost is of 94.5 million is enough to complete the project?
Well, I'm sure engineers will always do their feasibility studies, and based on their findings, they will do an estimate. Why it is true that we may not be doubting others who saw what they saw, and looking at what the beauty of what is expected to come out will be. But for the engineers, the civil engineers, the road engineers, and those who've done all of their studies along the road, they've put a total cost of 94.5 million United States dollars to the road. They've given us a breakdown as to how that money will go. So they've said to the president that they will need $80 million to do the civil work of the road. They've said to the president that the design and supervision of the road will take $7 million. They've told the president for the management and resettlement of people along the road is going to take $7.5 million. They've given a total as to the cost of the road. Those who've brought the total are engineers. They are road contractors. The Liberian people that have told them what exactly they want. They've given a blueprint as to what they would do on the Roberts International Airport Road. So based on their findings, the feasibility study, they've brought to the government of Liberia a proposed budget, estimate that will cost $94.5 million. And based on that, the government have agreed to go into the work, and we are hopeful and very strong in their findings and their belief that said amount will give us a new bridge, said amount will give us a whole link road, said amount will give us a toll booth, and will give us lights along the Roberts International Airport Road. So based on their proposal, the government has accepted to move forward with the job. So for all of the other engineers who've saying that the money is so minute, it's small, it is not possible to do even a 1 mile road, the government has agreed. They've given, they are concluding all of their arrangement to make sure that work gets underway on the Roberts International Airport Road.
Mr. Toby?
If
Mr.
you're
Toby?
just joining us, please call the number.
Yes, I'm here.
605-313-6004. The code is 791403 to join the conversation. Mr. Sia.
Yeah, Mr. Toby, you know, this soon, you said this project will start soon. How soon is this soon you're talking about?
So from all indication, last week, the president held a meeting with the Ministry of Public Works. The president also had a meeting with the Liberia Electricity Corporation.
So, Mr. Toby, you don't know the exact time, right?
I'm driving to your question. So he also had a meeting with the World Bank. He had a meeting with Water and Sewer. What is currently holding the commencement of the road is with the Ministry of Public Work. The Ministry of Public Work will have to submit to the Ministry of Finance the first list of beneficiaries. I'm sure as of last week, that list will been prepared and to be submitted to the Minister of Finance to begin the payment. So the soon we are talking about, remember this project as of the day that the program, the counting have commenced. So it's 3 years. So the president is not sitting back and allowing people to give him excuses or complain about what is expected on that. Instructed the Ministry of Public Works to work along with the Ministry of Finance. So as soon as the Ministry of Finance present the beneficiaries listing, the payment will begin and the demolition will start. So in our how soon that you want to know is that it is not for me to tell you next week or tomorrow or day after tomorrow, but we can safely tell you that payment and demolition will commence very soon.
Very soon without a date. Okay, I will take that very soon. Folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. The lines are open. You can now call in to post your question, or if you want to make a comment, you can so do. Dennis, you want us to take this one or what? All right, let's take this caller. Caller, your name and where you're joining us from, and quickly to the issue. Caller, are you there?
Okay, go ahead, call out your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, my name is Salvina. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Salvina. I'm calling from Texas. And I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Toby for braving the storm to come on, on this platform and just have an interface with us. I know it can be challenging with all the noise going on Facebook and some of the comments and some of the things. So I just want to to say thank you to him for taking that whole step. I know you guys are discussing also about the project, the airport project, but I want to sway a little bit and talk about the issue that is near and dear to my heart. Not that the road is not an issue because I work in government as well. So, but the priority is the issue of women and children, and how it's being handled in the country. I also understand this is a global task, and I know it has been a challenging task even before I left America. But now it has been taking a downward spiral. There's not much has been done about it. I'm looking at reports from 2019 and backwards, and the numbers are scary. I'll give, for example, the first quarter of 2019, the gender report, you have 803 cases. And of those 803 cases, there were less than 1% of those that was convicted. You have so many at large, and it is disturbing, it's troubling. And also, when you look at the 3-year period or the 2-year period, you have less than 2% that have been convicted. You have even of the 803, of those numbers that they reported, only 70 of them made it to court. And so, since he's the mouthpiece for the government, he writes directly to the president. I'm asking a couple of things. One, that the president handle this with a sense of priority. Our women are hurting. We are hurting. I know I don't know him personally, but I'm sure he has children. If he doesn't have children, he has women in his life. I saw that he just got married. Congratulations. And you have, sisters and all of that. So this should be concerning to everybody. That the government will put a lot of money and time into this. I also read that there are only 2 judges that are in the criminal court to prosecute these cases. So we need more judges to try these cases. We need more awareness. And also, more importantly, the gender minister needs to come forward. She needs to have those weekly talks with the public, whether in her office, and come on some of these platforms that sort of focus on Africa and engage the public, and see what's going on, and do a risk assessment and see how best we can solve this problem. Because having, so that's another thing. So I'm concerned about that. So if there's something you can take back to the president, that we, or to her, to the minister, these other things, to prioritize the issue of this sexual and gender-based violence. I know you guys are doing little work, but much needs to be done.
Thank you.
So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tapina.
Thank you. Dennis, I think we should do this. Let Mr. Toby take the issue to the president and the general minister. Yeah, focus on Liberia. We will make some effort to see if we can get somebody from the general ministry to answer this question. Let us stick to what topics on the discussion. Is that okay?
Mr. Toby, your brief response to that, is that fine? Or you want to respond to our caller?
Well, I think she's having a very good concern. Even as we go through International Women's Day, where the president has been involved with as of the last 2 days, it is a very serious concern to the president. Even this is one president who's having his voice on radio and speaking against rape. His voice is being used on state radio as jingle, talking about the seriousness of rape and other violence against women. It is challenging, and it pains the heart of any parent who've lost the child to rape, or who's even a victim of rape. There has been this campaign with the Ministry of Gender and other players for the continuing awareness on this issue of rape. I will talk about the court issue.
Thank you.
For people to be speedy trial, what have you. These are things that the president is looking at. It is not something that is being swept under the carpet, and I'm very sure that the Ministry of Gender, like she rightly said, has been working with other partners to continue this awareness.
Thank you.
Again, it is men approach to these things that is now tend to be a societal thing. It's a societal ill, And we all need to kick against it. We all need to keep talking about it. It is not just about the government, but it is about us as citizens of our country. In the decent society, no one should go about to get involved into either rape, people raping babies, people doing things that are very inhumane. So even if the government goes out there and start to castrate men and do things, even with the harsh punishment, some men still see it like a pleasure thing. The government frown on it. The president has been frowning on this, and he's going to continue his engagement. Like you rightly said,
ouch. But if you can relay our message to the agenda minister, we can have her on focus on Liberia to speak to some of these issues. And if you can also relay that to the president, just as the caller have asked. Let's move to our next caller. Caller from 404 area code. Your last number is 9635. You are live.
This is Dr. Kula calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Dr. Baton Kula, welcome to OVL. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Press Secretary, I'm very concerned about two incidences that have occurred in Liberia in recent time. The first incident was the brutalization of Zeno Miller, your former colleague at OKFM, by the EPS security guard, and he later on passed away. Now, recently, Emmanuel Savas was brutalized by the same EPS people, and he's currently seeking care. I need to know what is the position on of the president on this issue of his EPS guards, first of all, brutalizing Zeno Miller, who later passed away, and now brutalizing Emmanuel Savas. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, like I said, the issue with Mr. Emmanuel Savas is now being investigated. So we will not want to detail what happened. There have been different sides of the story. Mr. Savas has his own side of his explanation. The EPS, through the Liberia National Police, have given their own account. It is an ongoing investigation. What we know of is that there was allegation of breach of security, and of course, which led to Mr. Savas' arrest and subsequent turnover to the Liberia National Police. There have been several different accounts on that situation that is now being investigated, and we are very happy that there is an ongoing investigation. Mr. Savas said he was mercilessly beaten, and he's alleged that he sustained wounds and what have you. Those are ongoing discussions that are being investigated. For the fact that Mr. Zeno Miller passed, and his pass was never attributed by a medical report that he was beaten by EPS that led to his death. It is not safe for us to equally say he was beaten by the EPS and that is why he passed. If you've been opportune to see his medical report, something the family also spoke about, they did not attribute the beating of Zeno or his passing to the situation that he encountered with the EPS.
Mr. Toby, let me stop you there. I mean, it doesn't have to kill him, but did the EPS beat him? I think that's the fundamental question that we need to answer first.
So the problem here is that there's been no, except for what Zeno explained. Like what has happened, there's been series of different. Okay, so for every time there is a stand-up, you see pictures, you see videos, you see all sort of evidence, except for the explanation that Zeno gave, that he wrote on his social media page. There has been no other evidence to that effect. Okay. I work with Zeno. I don't feel good even talking about the way he passed and the situation and his health condition and what have you. So for me to sit here and say that was a situation that happened, except for what I read from his account, I haven't seen any other account. And EPS having said that they encounter him at any given point. Like for Savas, oh yes, they've admitted that they have an interaction with service. And like for some other journalists that were arrested during the service situation, they've already complained the EPS. So some of those issues are being investigated.
Thank you.
Mr. Toby, I
Yeah.
want to put you on this. You work with Zeno. Do you know him to be a liar?
I work with Zeno. Interestingly, Zeno was stepping in the shoes when I was just about leaving. I worked with Zeno for over 20 years. So I don't count his account to be false. And you remember the commentary that Zeno talked about? We did the commentary. I was his co-commentator. I even was serving as a guest commentator during the match. And after the match, I left before the claim of the situation. It is not for us to doubt his account, but to the point that it was being spoken about, it is not for me to say he was beaten or he gave another account of his situation. I've personally talked to the director of the EPS. We've had series of engagement on this. When Zeno passed, I was even the liaison between the media, some media colleague of Liberia and the family. So it also speaks to you that I was very engaged with his family and up to his final day of rest. So it is not about whether his account was wrong or his account was right.
And finally, if I may, Mr. Toby, please keep your answer short. You know, we have a lot of people and waiting, and we have mine too. I have a lot of questions. And finally, Minister Lens Eugene Namwe apologize on behalf of the Liberian government for the poor handling of the Zulu Miller issue. Someone might think that this is somebody admitting that the government, through the EPA, had hand in Miller's death. That's one. And hold on. The second one is Deputy Information Minister for Press and Propaganda, another Eugene. He said, Fagon said that Savage story that he was being manhandled by the EPS was complete stupid politics. He says a stupid lie. Sorry, he says stupid lie. Is that something you would say?
Well, people will choose the words, and I may not choose those words to speak to service. I think this is my second or third time speaking on the service issue. I'm not sure I'm going to use the voice of Fagon or others who have spoken to the issue. Everyone chooses the way to respond to the issue. So I may not repeat or say those words in my response to what happened to Mr. Savage on the issue. And on the follow-up issue was reconnect me again.
Eugene Namwe apologized on behalf of the Liberian government with reference to the Zeno.
So when Minister Namwe had gone to sign the book of condolence, his apology, in my understanding, was that the government should have investigated. And as of the day they saw the write out on Zeno's page, but because the government did not investigate, did not launch an investigation at the time, that is from the point, in my understanding, the minister was apologizing that the government should have taken his complaint. There was not an official complaint, by the way. For even the period, they did not write an official complaint complaining Zeno claim. Zeno himself only wrote on his Facebook page, which anyone else would do at any given time with a situation. So if the government said we did not give it sort of an attention, and the minister said we are sorry for the situation, that did not justify that the minister was apologizing for the government security for allegedly taking the responsibility for what happened to Zeno at that time.
All right, let me take another caller here. Steve Bowler, you are live. And each caller, you have less than 1 minute, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ja. Like always, the Liberian people are important.
You don't start that thing.
And Mr. Toby in studio here, he knows and he can affirm that the Liberian women are the most beautiful women on earth. That's why he just married a Liberian woman. So I want to say congratulations to him. But let's get to the issues because I have a few questions here that will be in less than 1 minute. My first question is there has been a lot of discrepancy about this government. I'd like to know, especially in terms of the communication, which capacity are you speaking in today, Mr. Toby? Because you are the press secretary, you will say one thing to us and you work for the president. The information minister and his deputy will come and say another thing for us. They work for the president as well. So there has been conflict of communication and discrepancy in your coordination in how you address the Latvian people or how you provide information, which makes this government to look as a lying government because you don't have one statement. That's one. The second thing is I wanted to know if the CDC-led government, if the CDC party had an approval from the Minister of Justice yesterday for the retreat you guys held in Monrovia. Considering when Emmanuel Chavez then went to the Minister of Justice, based on what he said, he was told that, based on the coronavirus and all of this, they couldn't accommodate large gatherings. These were the excuses that were made, according to him. And if the government has a permit for the large gathering yesterday, can you make that available to the public on the website so that we can be able to see? And here's my last question. My last question is within this entire Emmanuel Chavez saga. People are claiming that the president breach of security or whatever now. Now, my question is, you said there's an investigation going on. How long will the public wait for this investigation? And how long should we expect for it to be made public? And the last thing I want to say is this. There was also the issue of gasoline, the investigation of the issue of gasoline. And events alleged that the president has the report. When do the public expect for that report to be made public so that we can read and see who were involved into the whole issue of the gasoline saga that went on that affected the Liberian people? Thank you so much for focusing on Liberia, and I look forward to listening to his responses.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, I think he plays a lot of things under the bus. And again, I'm so happy that we are here to help someone like him to understand and to be on top of his game. The first thing, the report has been acted upon. Like he rightly said, yes, the president received a report. The Minister of State with our portfolio did an investigation on the gasoline issue. There was a report given to the president. The president has been going through that report. The president has finally taken some action on the report. There's been one dismissal from that recommendation of the report. There have been a series of measures put in place based on the recommendation from the report. So you're asking, where is the report? I would just ask you to go to the Executive Mansion website. You can also go on the same Facebook, just type E-Mansion, Executive Mansion Liberia. There's a whole report that is there. I will tell you the decision the president took, who's got affected, who got suspended, and the procedure, the new procedure that the president has put in place so that the issue would not reoccur. Because there's been a whole syndicate at the LPRC that led us to that point, and the investigation revealed a lot of different stuff, and the president has taken a very strong decision on the issue. Even the importers has been given some ultimatum for the level of work. So you need to find the report. It's out, it's on the social media, you need to check it. The president has taken a decision on the issue. Yeah. On your issue of the investigation, I'm not the investigator. I may not tell you as to when the findings or the final report will be out, but it's equally good that there is an investigation and they will investigate. And the investigation will tell you what happened at the end of the day. And you also get to know who's responsible or who was at fault on the Maiwa service issue. On the issue of the permit, if you're just joining us in our conversation, like I said, I work for the government and I work for the office of the president, but I'm not the official spokesman for the party. The party is well structured. The party carries its own communication arm. The party is a law-abiding party. What I know yesterday that the party assembled, they had a retreat, there was a date announced, it was executed. They assembled at the Antoinette Tottenham Stadium. And if you are concerned, if they were given the guarantee or the permission to assemble, I know that there was an assembly yesterday and it went very well. On your issue of government communication, it should always be of privilege to hear from the seat of the presidency. I know that, yes, the Ministry of Information will normally speak on government policy issues, but in time past, people could not properly communicate as to the activities of the president. And that is why a lot of Liberians did not know what the president normally does when he leaves his house to go to work. People feel that every president just leaves their home in the morning and gets to the office and that's it and return home. But we've managed to bring the presidency very close to the Liberian people. So we tell you about the president's activities, his schedule, his meeting, his discussion, and his engagement. We are giving you information very close. While it is true that the Ministry of Information will tell you those government decisions on policy issue, we around the office of the president, where Mr. Isaac Solo-Kebe sits as the press secretary proper, we are helping to bring you some understanding as to how the president feels about some of the issues that are happening in the country, how the president engage people on some of those decisions that he takes. So we are helping you to know the feeling of the president. So our role is not too different from the role of the Ministry of Information, but we don't speak on the quote unquote government policy decision and in all of the ministries. Hear us narrow our discussion to the presidency. So if you ask me how the president feel about once I'm in the know of the president take on the issue, we will speak with that authority. If there's something that has to do with the government or policy issue, then you ask the Ministry of Information. So if you're not getting the line of the way we are operating, then you miss track and think that we are not communicating very well. But we speak directly. Like we speak the president's mind to you. The Ministry of Information only tell you the government policy issue. But we talk to the president, we interact with the president, we tell you his decision and who he's talking to on a daily basis, his meetings, his engagement, and all of those things is what we talked about. So we are a little bit different, what we deal directly with the office of the president as compared to the Ministry of Information.
Thank you. We have an overseas caller here who, and so callers, if you call, please limit to one question and be very brief. Mr. William Bro, you're calling from overseas. Go ahead.
William Bro.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, my brother. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Brussels.
Yeah, fine. You see, I just want to make a point.
1 minute,
I think one thing that we always have mixed information about issue is we don't go by ethics. The panelists, we the callers, and maybe the people who some of you who are journalists, when people come on the show, you should know the person's position and restrict your question and comment with respect to the person's position. Mr. Toby, there is a press secretary to the president. All questions should be about the presidency. Not leaving the issue of the presidency, going way to government policy, all about the information minister, other person asking about gender ministry. I think that way can bring the contradiction in information. Okay. If I were the press secretary today, I won't answer most of the questions you guys are asking. You understand me? Now, now, even one of you there asked a question, in my opinion, it was unethical. To say, oh, the deputy information minister say it was stupid lie. So, is that something you will say too? How you will ask such a question? Maybe for me, because I'm studying ethics, so maybe I will have problem, but I don't think that's a question. That's a waste of time.
Bro, you just use the same words that I use. So how are you different? Because you're trying to project me as being the bad person for asking such a question. You use the very word. So
yeah, the reason why I said it, because I'm gonna repeat it so that other people that honor here cannot do same in the long run, and even you. Because
and you think I'm not doing the same?
If we leave it, you said.
And you think I'm not doing the same thing?
If you have a question, go ahead with your question. We have a long list.
Yeah, for me, I don't have a question. That only something I just giving an observation, because we should be ethical. We should stop doing. We're spoiling our society. All foreigners listening to us.
All right.
I don't think we should channel our things like that. When this question comes for that purpose, you ask them concerning that purpose. If you go on the contrary, then you will be giving mixed information, or you could push that person to give mixed information. We should learn to be ethical and civilized here. Thank you.
Thank you. If Mr. Toby have any issue with any of our questions, Mr. Toby, please feel free to let us know. Let's go to our next caller, Mr. Stanley George. You are live.
Thank you. Thank you, Focus Hope. Thank you for giving me the time. I just want to say this. You know, if you have an opinionated mind and coming on the show as a caller or as a viewer, as a follower, you will definitely ask those questions that may not be relevant, or you may try to speak to things that not on the plate. For me, I'm not asking a question. I'm just want to buttress whatever the press secretary said. He made some clarity on issues that have been trending in the media about the road project and that of Zuma Miller, along with the current one, the manual service. Okay, with manual service issue, we live in a civilized world. We know when it comes to the president or hiding, profile area, there are security measures put into place that no citizen can breach that. If you try to breach that, you will definitely be prosecuted, or whatever or outcome that you will face, you're definitely going to face. So I'm hearing people like, or the people at Badon Kula or Manuel Savage were brutalized. They were brutalized. He took his petition. Yeah.
Yeah, please, if you don't, we don't want you to kind of go over what our guests have already said. So if we don't have a question, we want to go to the
next thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Another question. I'll just be brief. Not a question, but I would say this: if you took the petition to the House and you gave the petition to the House, I think you did the right thing, because the president cannot go ahead to pass nothing into law without going through the House, and the House doing it first before going to him to put his signatures on it. So if he went to the House and his petition was presented to the people, I think it was good. But he leaving the House and going to the president office and then trying to breach the security protocol, I think was wrong on his part. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's welcome the caller 443 last digit 7628. You are live. Go ahead, caller from area code 443, last number 7628.
Yeah, my name is Teku Ajumana, and I just have a question for Mr. Toby. Mr. Toby, my question is to do with the road project, our road project. And you have said, to my understanding, the government still trying to get funding for this road that is already being, projected to be started. But and then what I want to know is, can you give us an update on the road for Lofa Road? The ground was breaking and during the election.
Thank you. Mr. Toby, update on the Lofa Menokomano Road.
Well, I know, like you already said, the program for that road long. And the government having started the road, I know there's been feasibility study, there's been some road work between Monyaman and Zozo. That road, I'm not sure that they have started. I don't want to speak to that information with the authority, because I know that it's been a project on the book for a very long time. I need to counter check my information on Agbanga Menikoma Road with the Ministry of Public Works so that again, we will not dabble into misinformation on the specific implementation of a road project. Authoritatively, we will speak to you on the ones that the president have already earmarked that are ongoing and that are in the framework for development. So the Banga Menikoma Road is being there. There's been intervention, but at what level? I may not speak to you with the authority to give you the information that you will need. I don't want to dabble you into any misinformation on that point.
Thank you. Let me take one caller and then we'll go to, then we will ask you questions too. Caller 9509, you are live.
Thank you. Brother John, this is Wilson from Connecticut. Hi, Mr. Smith.
Can you call your name again? I didn't get that.
I would like to know. Wilson Kessa.
Oh, Wilson, go ahead. You're live.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Brother Smith, I would like to know with the depression or confusion between security forces and press people, activists, is the government planning to at least educate our people on how to proceed when it comes to journalists, breaching security area when it comes to activists? Because most of the activists now see they're above the law and they can do anything. They can go anywhere and do anything with impunity. And so they were there, the security forces started clashing, even the journalists. Is the government putting in place or around the president surrounding, is there any kind of training that they're going to help our Liberian people or inform them as to how to proceed when they're coming to do their protest or the journalists, where the journalists are supposed to be and how they're supposed to, because it's getting crazy, and people making all kinds of allegations. Do you people have any plans to train our people or educate them on how to proceed?
Thank you, Mr. Keto.
So what I can say to that effect is that we've been talking to the team at the Press Union of Liberia since all of the news on security and journalists in the last few weeks has been on the media and becoming a very serious issue. We are working on a plan to bring the media and the security actors together. We know that the media has a piece of job to do, and the security also has their side of the job to do. Like I said, media people and the security people have always had stand up for different reasons, and it is not proper for it to continue. And I've also been talking to the PER president and the PER hierarchy. We are trying to bring the both parties to a forum or a discussion so that we can see, identify some of the issues to build that relationship between the media and the security or the state actors, especially the security. For the advocate, I'm not sure whether there's a plan for that because their action are protest driven sometimes, and they are petition driven. It's done once in a while, but the media interact with the security on a daily basis, and their situation in the last few weeks turned to be a very serious concern. So yes, we are working on bringing the media and the security together, the actors, to see how we can find the solution to what have happened and to put an end to this continuing hula baloo between the media and the security.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. Let me go to my next caller, Mr. Amos Judge. You are live.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. I got two quick questions for you. One concerning the journalist death, and the second is the role issue. The government at the time, your boss man, the chief press secretary, made an announcement that the government was going to shoot up the autopsy report for the Elizabeth Miller. And at the last time, the parents came out to say that the government never contacted them up to the time they buried him. Second, the government said nobody beat Mr. Miller. But why was it the Minister of Information came up publicly to apologize to the family of the late Miller? Now, the next one is the rule. This contract, the last time you said, you were asked by a journalist about the record of the company. It's international. You said, the past government did deal with them, so it was not an issue. Now, my question to you, this company has a track record of not completing projects. Was it compelling that the Liberia government deal with them? And if so, why this contract was not public to the public to see the bidding process? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George.
So on your issue of the company not completing project, I don't know from where you speak or what's your information on the project. For people when they complete project, when you give them the money to do a piece of job and you complete your side of the bargain. So if previous government was in contract with East International and they were giving them contracts and the contract was not fully sponsored, equally so, you know, the company will not complete the project. If they were receiving those money in full and doing a piece of job that they failed on, then it's another story. But East International is not a strange company. They've been here. They were here under former President Ellen Johnson administration. They've been engaged into roles. They are one of the reliable companies under the Ministry of Public Works rules implementation. So it is not a strange company. I'm sure people get contracts based on performance. They've gone through bidding before. I'm sure based on their past records of performance, they've been contracted as a consortium to do the Roberts International Airport role. So it is not a strange company to say it's a whole new process of looking for new company. The company is here, they've been here, they've been working on our roads. They've done a lot of neighborhood roads, and now they got a very big contract based on the government commitment to give them the funding to do the job. It is in the belief of the government and the Ministry of Public Works that East International will live up to that performance trust that the government has imposed in them. On your issue as to why the government, a topside report or a topside for the late Zeno Miller, the government made an offer and the government held a discussion through the Ministry of Justice with the family. Of course, the family told the government that they were going to get back to the government after their first family meeting. The family met and the family took a position that the government offer would not be accepted, and they were not going to settle down for the topside because they as a family, going by what the medical report was putting forth as for what was responsible for the death of Zeno Miller. The government equally had the right to put an injunction or to put a halt to the bearer. But Zeno, being a team player, a very young man who was also working for the institution and a family person, the government did not want to hold on, claim and counterclaim, holding back. Once the family did not accept the government request for the topside, there was no need for the government, even though the government had it right, but the government thought to give the family the will. And so the government accepted the family request, and there was no need for the government to keep pushing while the family wanted to give the fallen son a befitting bearer. The government was represented at the bearer. I even read the tribute on behalf of the government, and we all felt saddened. We are still saddened about his loss, even though some people wanted to politicize the passing. But again, we pray that his soul will rest in perfect peace. The family accept the medical report, and that's why they equally rejected the autopsy that the government requested.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. Let's go back to the president's county-wide tour. During the election, someone said the president won 14 out of the 15 counties. What has taken the president so long to do this tour?
Well, there's been challenges, and as a new government in 1 year, the president had a lot on his plate to do. The president had a lot of engagement outside of the country. There was a lot of conferences and acquaintance meetings and meeting partners to put his administration into gear. The president did not find the time in his schedule in his first 1 year to go to the counties. In the second year of his administration, he's giving a lot of attention to a lot of different things that have happened around trying to put his government into motion, structuring the government, putting people into places of work and trust. It's been all about keeping him very busy on other issues. Then the president, having forgotten that there's a need to go to the counties, and so the Ministry of Internal Affairs that is responsible for local governance has been working on the president's schedule. So now they've submitted a schedule. The schedule got interrupted due to the petroleum crisis. Now we've done with the petroleum crisis. They've redone the schedule, and the counties and the counties administrators, the citizens in the counties are all excited, waiting the president to go to the counties, and the president is going to go to the counties. So the president not going to the counties was not deliberate, and it hasn't been deliberate by any means. It's been interrupted by different schedules, different summits, and different engagement. And that is why in this year, the president, I'm sure you haven't heard a lot of travel, because the president actually want to go to the counties. He want to see the people in the counties. He want to see what is going on in the counties, and how the impact of his government is being felt in the county. So he said and ready to go as soon as the Ministry of Internal Affairs can finalize the president's schedule. The president is ready to go to all of the 15 counties. It's going to come in schedules. It's going to come in phases. And it's going to be a very good experience for the president to have a one-on-one interaction with his people in the Leeward part of the country.
Thank you. Let me read some comments on Facebook. There are lots and lots of comments here. And we have a technical problem with our phone line, so that will be the end of our call. There's also a technical problem from my co-host. Mr. Simeon Wright is asking, how much money did President Weah spend on Joseph N. Boakai cars?
By the way, I'm not sure that was part of your topic today.
I know. When the people post the question, you have all right to skip, but that's the question that people are asking.
So go to the next one.
All right. By transferring resources allocated for one project by the legislature to another by the executive, was there any input from the legislature? Has this is its sole function? That's a question from Oliver Tope.
Yes. The project was being re-looked at, and of course, the president got the consent of the national legislature. The president is not running a one-man show here. He's not taking unilateral decision. Those documents were resubmitted, and of course, the national legislature that serve as a direct representative of the Liberian people had their say in the document, and that is why some of the lawmakers was also represented at the function where the president participated. So yes, the decision met the consent of the people's representatives.
Question from this is a comment from Jim S. Keller, is directed at, also I need to read it. These protesters have been beating police officers during their protest. I have not heard any of these so-called talk show hosts talking, never say anything about it. But the moment the police take action, it is a problem. Do you agree, Mr. Toby?
Well, I know people draw their own line for advocacy. So some people will advocate for more things against what the people they consider as a villain as they would do to police officer. But yes, we've seen police being brutalized, and no one advocate for people action against the police or against the state security. But people do more advocacy for people when the state security act on civilians. So people are looking at the coin in different ways. So yes, I may agree that people will do more advocacy when state security acts than when people act on the state security. You've seen police with wounds, with blood. No one goes to their aid and advocate on their behalf like they would do for other civilians.
Question from Dave Jai said, Mr. Toby, do you have some insight regarding the president's mindset about his appointments? Does the president see himself as for all Liberians or just his tribal groups? It seems that 4 out of 5 of his appointees are of his ethnic group. How does that foster national cohesiveness?
Well, the president is not a president who want to see division. He's a president who feeling for peace and reconciliation is very, very high on the radar, and that is why he's been very peaceful. This is one president that has been abused on the new media, the social media, and at various functions. He's not running after people because of their feeling about him. He's been very understanding of the situation. He's been very peaceful. And so he thinks that we should all coexist, no matter our differences, our political alignment, and what have you. All we all have in common is the country Liberia. So we may not all agree, but we can disagree and agree, but we should keep our country peaceful. And that's what the president is living up to. So he's not buying into Liberians and all Liberians believing in his ideology. People are divided on different things, but his feeling and strength is that we should keep the country on a very peaceful radar, and I'm sure he's succeeding in doing just that.
And Mr. Toby, I see that there's a concern. I'm from Sino County, which is southeastern Liberia. There's a lot of people talking about, Southeasterners or people of the Kru ethnic group being, very dominant in the president's government that he appoints. So people are lashing at us, and sometimes I feel that they have a genuine concern. What do you think?
Well, I think people are serving the government. They are all Liberians.
I understand that.
So whether they come from Grand Kru, they come from Grand Jide, they come from Lofa, the president is giving Liberians job to do. I'm not sure the president is concentrating the formation of his government on a tribal basis. And you should not be encouraging Liberians, or we should not be encouraging Liberians to tribalize us any further, because we know what that sort of division have done to our country.
Yeah.
When we start to segment the country and say because you come from Grand Kru, so you crew man, you're in the government, people feel marginalized, and the president is not thinking in that direction. If you check the president cabinet, there are people of all tribes in the president cabinet. There are people of all tribes in the government, and it may not be on the equal proportion, but they are all Liberians with professional expertise who've been called upon to do a piece of job for the country, and they are not doing the job for a specific county. So if a crewman is in a position, he's not working only for Grand Kru or for Sano, he's working for Liberia. If a lumberman is in the government, he's not working for Lofa, he's working for Liberia. If a Pella man is working in the government, he's working for Liberia, he's not working for Bond County. So let us not encourage those sort of politics in our day-to-day discussion because it's going to take us nowhere. It's going to further, make people to create hate in their heart and think that other counties or other tribes are being left out. If you check the formation of the government, see all tribes at all level in the structure of the government. So it is not about whether you come from Sano or the president from Sano. So only Kupu got the job. This Kupu alone can run this country, and we got other people. So don't let people drive you into that kind of politics.
There was a concern also that, why do you ask Mr. Toby this question? Tell Cole, who asks about the gender ministry, is saying, who is best to take our concern than Mr. Toby? So people are going to bring their concerns to you since you work directly with the president. So what you think of Telco's counter that you are in the right place to hear from them what they feel about this government or the president?
Well, I think when I say that I hear a lot, I see it a lot. What I'm informed about, I can speak to. One thing I'm not good at is giving misinformation. Some people, no matter how we sit here and speak, they still don't believe us. But that is left to them. But this is something I've done through my life, giving information out no matter where I sit. I've done it for years. Now I'm doing it for the office of the president. I love giving people information. It is your belief. So I know that I hear a lot. And what I tell you is what I hear and what I know. And it's my conversation that I'm engaged with the authority. So I feel good. If there's a question that I can answer, I will help you understand it. If there's a situation you want me to speak to that I'm aware of, I can also help to provide you some clarity on some of the misinformation. So this is something I enjoy doing, no matter my position in the government or my proximity to the president. But I see the government. I see everything around the government. I don't just speak directly to the policy issue, but I know some of the misinformation out there. I can help you provide some clarity. It's also left for you to believe my side or to also take it to be another government propaganda.
And that's why we are glad to have you to provide some clarity on the issues. And we hope to do this again and again as your time may permit. Well, we're coming to the at 6 o'clock and speaking on this same ethnic issue. I see there are some comments here say, oh, Dennis, don't bring the tribe business here. These are the issues that are being discussed, and as much as our people are discussing them, when we have the opportunity to talk to you, we will ask you those questions. At 6 o'clock today, we're going to have an exclusive show on ethnicity and its impact on nation building. And if you have time, please keep tuned. So at this time, we have come to the end of our broadcast. I know we cover a lot of grounds. We would want to get your final comments. If there's anything we did not touch that you also want to brief us on, please feel free to do so.
Well, I just want to say thanks to the team and for this opportunity. I think it's been a very good discussion. We can do this as often as possible. I'm also happy that we've managed to speak to some people who's been doubting some of the information. And this is the best thing we can offer our country, to be true to ourselves and be a realist and keep speaking truth to power. I know it's a difficult thing for people to believe. Some Liberians out there will live in denial until after President Weah's administration. But it is left with us to continue to speak the engagement that we are aware of. We are happy that you avail your platform to us. I'm available. I'm a media man. I always want to keep talking. I miss my interaction with the audience out there. And every time I'm opportune to do this, I come doing it with my passion for it. And for those of you who still find it difficult to believe in our ability to speak to national issue, to give you the needed information, we will keep trying. We are still in some very difficult time in the country. The president is aware of those challenges. He's making sure that he can deliver Liberia under his administration to the best of his ability. And all you can do is to keep trusting. We can all disagree and agree on the issues. all we have in common is Liberia. That is our common denominator. So I just want to say thanks to you and your team for affording me this opportunity. And I will be available again once there is a need to speak to some of the issues. Just let me know. We've already made a schedule to do this once a week, and it's great. Thanks to the viewers. Thanks all of you for your comments. I've been reading the comments while we are on the show. Wonderful comments, good contribution to a civil discussion. You are all discussing your issue because you all care about Liberia, and that's the best way to do it. We can be very polite in disagreement and no more time to fight. And thanks to all of you for keeping up with us tonight. And I hope I'll see you sometime next week.
Thank you. Mr. CA, if you can. Mr. CA has some technical difficulty, and man, he's not a happy man now. Mr. CA, we are concluding.
Mr. Ja, as you can tell, I'm not a happy man. I want to apologize for the technical difficulty there. My little son went to the internet cable. I don't know what he was thinking, unplugged it and shut me down. I apologize. I hope that we can do this again. I have so many questions that I can't get off my chest, but Mr. Toby made a promise that he would try to come here regularly. I couldn't enjoy the show much, but that's okay. Things happen. Again, folks in cyberspace, I apologize that this happened. Mr. Toby, I can't ask any question now. We are concluding. We hope that you will take our message to the Ministry of Gender. We would love to have the minister there. He can send a designated representative. The question that our sister asked, those questions actually are important. She follows us, and we want to make sure that when they have concern, things that they need answers for, it is our duty to bring the answers to them by finding the people who can provide those answers. Again, thank you for honoring our invitation. We look forward to another conversation like this. This is an opportunity for those of us in the diaspora to hear from our country, to hear from our president. I mean, I am critical on the president. Many people know that, and I'll continue to do because I want the best for Liberia, and that's the only reason. Thank you for doing this. Let's keep doing this. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Like you read to say.
Go ahead, complete your thought, Mr. Toby.
No, I was just trying to say thanks to your co-host, and like you read to say, I love to talk to critical people because we will help to make you to understand what's going on. Next week, maybe same time, I hope you'll be with all of the technical issue will be solved so that we can take some of the questions and get you going. I will make some effort. I will see what I can get you, the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection. If there's a need, you want to talk to someone in the government that you think I can be a help to your platform, just let me know. I will try to arrange it for you. So you get other faces coming to talk about their sector, there's education, there's health, whatever that is of interest to your audience. Let us know. We can try to arrange some of your guests because they'll be talking Liberia. They'll be providing information for the Liberian people. So we can be a help to you in whatever way possible. But again, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. And we want all of you in Liberia to really understand our passion for our country. There's no hatred. There's nothing else. But we want to come back, man. There's something different about Liberia. Imagine you go to work. You can eat toboggy in the morning for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know what that means?
I know, right?
Well, folks, that's how we're going to end it here and focus on Liberia. Thank you for the questions. Until then, my name is Dennis Jah, saying good night and God bless you.